Director of the National Ornamental Metal Museum. Boy, that's a mouthful. Carissa, what a great treasure this is, and welcome to Give Me Memphis.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down to the museum and joining us here today.
Does anything like this exist anywhere else in the country?
It is a national museum, and it is unique. It's a great combination of a museum that is specifically focused on the art and craft of fine metalwork, the only institution of its kind in the country. But we also have a working blacksmith shop and foundry, as well as artists living and working on site.
What are some of the things that people can experience here?
Well, we have a permanent collection. Some of the objects are 500 years old. They range from everything from old farm tools to contemporary sculpture and fine art jewelry. And so we always have part of our permanent collection on display, and we also have rotating exhibitions. We have about 5 large-scale exhibitions each year, and then 5 smaller exhibitions by up-and-coming or mid-career metalsmiths. And so we have a great collection of exhibitions that happen each year, and we also have a wonderful gift store that's very popular with a lot of people. We have members who join and come back, especially before the holidays, and get a lot of their Christmas gifts here.
And not always little bitty gifts. I mean, you actually do big time metal works for people as well, don't you?
We do some big time metal works. You probably wouldn't buy those through a gift store, but we've done large scale public art projects. We've done large scale private commissions, including a domed roof for a private home. We've done andirons and gates and various things like that. And so our artists working in the blacksmith shop do special projects like that, and they do very beautiful work.
It's just unbelievable, and I know that it goes even beyond the metalworking, because there's concerts that take place here, there's weddings that take place here, and other special events.
It's a beautiful place for weddings. We have Blues on the Bluff, which happens in the summertime, a great event that people look forward to all year round. We have special events for our members, and it really is a great place to come and enjoy the river, enjoy being outdoors. It's always a little cooler down here than the rest of Memphis.
It's hard to believe we're 2 minutes away from the heart of downtown Memphis, but it feels like we're just out in the countryside somewhere with these beautiful trees and the shade and the wind and the river.
It's a great setting, so we're very lucky here.
You know, Carissa, you got some beautiful gardens here in landscaping, but out in East Memphis there's some fabulous gardens and landscaping with the Botanic Gardens and of course the Dixon Gallery Gardens.
No, I would love to be able to compete with both of them. The gardens are beautiful. The Dixon has just exquisite gardens. Of course, it was originally a home. The Dixon family had a large collection of Impressionist art, and they turned their home and their gardens into just a beautiful museum, and it's really a wonderful place to visit. And of course, the Botanic Gardens is wonderful too. And they're
fantastic.
Right next to one another.
Right,
you can make a whole day out of it.
And of course, even the summer concert series, like at Mud Island, we have the Botanic Garden Summer Concert Series, Live at the Garden, which is a great summertime event for our visitors as well as our locals. People think that St. Jude is just a place that works miracles for young people all over the world, but they're one of our attractions as well, being the burial place for the late great Danny Thomas, and of course his whole history, not only with his work with St. Jude, but his whole career in acting and what he meant to the entertainment field.
And that is so important. They've also done a great job, which probably is harder to see, but with just incorporating art into the hospital itself, just as a way of sort of improving that overall experience and using art as a tool for healing.
We're so fortunate in this city. We have so many museums. And your background, of course, working in the arts world here in our community for so many years. Museum sometimes is a little bit of a misnomer. And, this summer we're trying to encourage Memphians, be a tourist in your hometown. Take advantage of the great amenities that we have. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars in gasoline. You can have a great vacation right here in Memphis, as we're referring to staycations right here in Memphis. Let's talk a little bit about that. When people go to the Brooks or the Dixon, it's a different world now than it was years ago.
I think they're very aware that they need to be family friendly. I think that it's getting people to get over the fact that it's someplace that usually you can't touch the art, but it needs to be someplace that you feel a connection to, that you feel like you're not maybe being followed by a security guard. It needs to be a real welcoming, open experience, and I think museums are definitely more aware of the fact that they need to make these experiences more family friendly. And certainly here at the museum, we have blacksmiths working all the time. They'll stop and they'll talk to you and tell you about what they're doing. The staff is very open, and I think that type of experience is happening across the board in museums in general, wanting to have more hands-on experience, the educational process being much more open and fun. So I think it's great. Museums really are reaching out more to people.
The Brooks right now has the Andy Warhol exhibit, and that's a city-owned museum, an art collection that people come here from all over the world to see it, and an art collection probably that eclipses what cities like Atlanta and New Orleans and Nashville, other cities in this region, can boast about. We basically, the citizens of Memphis, own this stuff, some of these priceless pieces of art. But it stretches in so many different forms and fashion throughout the community. Talk a little bit about like the Bells Museum. Now, here's a family-owned collection and what they focus on, and how people just kind of mesmerized when they walk in there.
I think it's something that you don't really expect to find as intriguing, and it's a wonderful collection of Asian art, and it's to be that close to some of those carvings and the jade pieces, and it's wonderful, and there's a lot to see and experience at the Bells Museum.
As we really see it with our internationals. Memphis is being the king of cotton. Of course, now we have a cotton museum right in the heart of downtown, of kind of the whole history of the cotton trade that was so vibrant here. But basically, Memphis was the capital of the world cotton market, and it took place right in the heart of downtown Memphis, and you can see the whole history of that as well.
It's a great museum. I know that they're talking about doing a walking tour as well, which I think will be a wonderful thing for people to be able to do and walk around downtown and sort of experience some of that history through the architecture.
And of course, the antebellum homes, and of course the historical sites of Victorian Village, and the great piece of Memphis history there that you just can't find in a lot of big cities anymore.
No, you can't, and they are beautiful homes. We're really lucky to still have them.
People can go out to the suburbs of the community out in Collierville. You got this town square in Collierville with vintage train cars that are restaurants, and it's almost like a museum all in its own right out there.
Oh, it's wonderful. I've enjoyed going out there myself, and you think that it's for me, I live in Midtown and obviously downtown all the time, and it seems far away, but it's really not, and it's a great afternoon trip, and it's great to do with the family or to do with some friends.
Time Magazine just did a book, Great Destinations, and of course Memphis was one of those great 100 destinations in the whole world for people to take a vacation to. And of course, one of the things they point out is the unique history here that you can't find anyplace else, and of course focusing on part of the story was the National Civil Rights Museum.
Yeah, I read an article too that listed that as maybe one of the top 10 things that you should take your children to see in the country. It made that top 10 list. So it's great to see Memphis in general, whether it's the National Civil Rights Museum or any other institution here. I think it does speak to the strength of the museums and the other institutions like that we have in Memphis.
And of course, you still have the old. I can remember as a child going to Chucalissa, or Chucalissa, however it's pronounced. But obviously the Indians were the first settlers in this part of the country here in the Memphis area, and what a great testament there.
And right across the way from here, just across the street, we have two old Indian mounds, ceremonial mounds in the park right next to us.
That's
so
fantastic.
That history does go further throughout Memphis. So
people don't even realize in downtown Memphis you can even go take a tour of an apartment that was the apartment that Elvis Presley lived in as a child, completely redecorated exactly the way it was when he was in high school at Humes High School with his mom and dad.
There's a lot you can do with Elvis here. So.
No question about it. Well, we want to thank you for joining us today on Give Me Memphis. And, we boast over 50 attractions in the city, and obviously so many of them are museum or museum quality type of presentations that we have. And the 9.5 million visitors who come here from all over the world, they find it fascinating. And we hope that our citizens find it fascinating too. I'm
sure they will, and I know that this probably goes for all the rest of the organizations, that all the other museums here. But when people make the trip to the Metal Museum, they always tell us how wonderful it is, and they're so glad they're here and how much they love it. And I think it is just making that little extra effort to discover what you have here in the community.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
And good luck with the great programming that you're doing here at the Ornamental Metal Museum.
Thank you. It's been a great place to be.
We hope you enjoyed this look at some of the unique things that Memphis has to offer on today's show. And we haven't even started talking about hidden gems, such as the American Dream Safari, ghost tours, walking tours through Elmwood Cemetery, carriage rides, the Peabody Duck March, and of course, all the fantastic restaurants and year-round events. We're so glad that you chose Memphis as a place to visit, and we hope that you get the opportunity to get out and experience as much of Memphis as you possibly can. We look forward to seeing you, and hopefully you'll bump into some of our locals. You know, we've been voted one of the 4 friendliest cities in America, and Memphis is glad you're here. For Give Me Memphis, I'm Kevin Kane.
Long distance information, give me Memphis, Tennessee. Help me find the party, try to get in touch with me.